and then I'll hit record in a sec. It's still grinding. I sure like things instant, huh?
No, it's fine. Good, we can pause.
I don't know. Here we go. There's Dove. And then I'll hit record in a sec.
Oh, hi, Dove.
Sure.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It's just absolutely lovely to see everyone, as always. Fantastic. So, we have a new poem today that was given to me last week, but in fact, last week we did the birthday one about happy eternity, and so that was the one to go with then. So, if you would be so good as to put this one up, Joni, that would be great, and I'll read it out. And this one called Old Moulds was sort of it was sparked by going to see my siblings and feeling some initial apprehension. This is some time ago, and then this poem sort of came to me because I'd when this last happened, that feeling of apprehension, I realized that I was holding them in a mold, and I remembered it the next time. So then anyway, I wrote a poem about it. So I'll just read it. I'm swinging in my swing chair in the garden, up so high. The canopy blew off years ago so I can see the sky. And today I was ruminating on a thought that was generating about how I love this game of hide and seek that God plays to disguise the unique treasure that's in everyone throughout the world under the sun. How is this game played? Well, often when we think we've strayed, we block ourselves from his light. Our sins shame us into darkest night. Or when we're in a crowded street, we might look into someone's eyes we meet and see God shining through their eyes. He suddenly appeared by complete surprise. It was God hiding, then jumping out in front of me, just when I was looking for something else to see. When we're still deluded by how someone looks, we may try to recall truths from our spiritual books, but we don't need to effort to see through their faces. We only need to drop back into our own sacred spaces. When we're wise to his subtle game, nothing again looks the same. Because now we see him everywhere, and he was never hiding. He was just waiting for the time we'd awaken to his guiding. For instance, take the way we always hold friends and family in a solid mold. They can never be free while we're mentally repeating every nuance, every memory at every single meeting. But when we drop the mold we've cast them in, it automatically unlocks the molds they put us in. And now we see each other with new, fresh eyes. We can't even mourn each other's demise because we can no longer remember the other's history. This new friend is a complete mystery. Even our futures are formed from the past because we only know what just happened last. We keep building molds out of everything we view. But once we're awake, everything's always new. So if you just keep that up there for a bit, Joni, that would be great. So yeah, I think the thing that I just wanted to say was that the thing that startled me when I mean, I'd love to sort of see what everybody else thinks about this in their own lives, but when I started to see that I don't just hold like my siblings or when they were alive, my parents or my family in the old moulds, which our families do to us. I mean, it's just one of those things that families and friends do to each other, because when you're not living in a moment to moment, I include me in that, when I'm not living in a moment to moment consciousness, these molds suddenly reappear. But every time you break them, let's say they were made of solid, thick gold or something, they get less and less and less, and they become like tin, and then they become like a veil, and then they just don't keep on doing that anymore. Because for me, so the appearance in the story of my siblings was that it would appear, it felt to me that, they were very, very harsh for many years and everything. So I'd feel apprehensive going to visit. And I realized, I was holding them in these molds. And anyway, this particular day that I went round, they'd actually invited me round, and I just had decided to drop everything I had ever remembered about them, every thought, every expectation, everything, just to see them as the light of presence, and knowing that that was all always there, but just dropping the mold, you see. Then what stunned me straight away was the look in their eyes. This was just amazing. They looked at me as if they'd never seen me before. It was like they were looking at a stranger, like they didn't know what to make of me. They didn't know what to do with me. So I just was beaming and smiling, and immediately said, hello, hello, and everything, because I could see they were totally ill at ease, just like a stranger had walked in their midst. It was so funny. And that's when I saw that when I stopped holding them in a mold, it automatically broke the mold they were holding of me, because they couldn't keep that mold up while I was holding a mold, because there is just this one presence, and it takes. Do you know what I mean? You can remove it now, Joni, because I'd love to hear what anybody else has to say about this. But it was the stunning realization that they couldn't hold me in a mold either once I dropped it. So I just don't know if anybody else had had that particular or something similar kind of experience. But just to finish, that then, from that big seeing, then I realized that you just held so many other things in a mold. You have expectations of all sorts of things in molds that you hold them in. Even your fears, like I used to fear creeping things, and then when I broke that mold, that didn't happen anymore. So yeah, it was just a big seeing. So that's why I wrote that poem. So thank you for listening, and yeah. It's also like if people tell you stories about other people, they did this, they did that, they didn't do that, they didn't do this. That's a mold that they've got going. And if you join in with it or even sympathize with it, then you're holding on to that same mold too. So, it's we holding people in molds is a bit infectious, but then when we drop it for ourselves, it drops it for other people. Anyway, I know you all know this. There's probably a wonderful lesson in the Course in Miracles that would I mean the first one, I mean the one near the beginning, that things only appear the way they are because we're holding them in that, we our thoughts are holding them. But any lesson that you want to say about that would be great, or any experience.
Yes, I have something to say.
Hi, John.
Hi, Mandy. That's an incredible poem. Incredible. And it arrived just on time, just on time. I tell you, because I had an experience this morning where I had to recall, it was a relationship with my daughter, interaction we had. And what it brought to mind was something I read this week. And it's basically how a person felt when he saw his daughter drowning, or his child drowning, and he had forgotten how to swim. And you know, you can imagine the feeling of that, you know, like, and just watching the whole thing going down. And I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what I felt with my daughter today. And then now I'm seeing, and the reason I'm seeing that is because I'm holding her in a mold, and we're both in molds together. You know that, so you know, this has really landed right on time for me because she's coming over in about a half an hour or so, and I'll be able to see with fresh eyes, you know, with a, well, I say a broken mold, but it's certainly it's cracked up a whole lot, you know. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, it's so tragic to experience, you know, my wanting to give and it's not being accepted, and you know, it's been discounted, blah 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 blah. And so now, thank you for the cracking open my mold.
Oh, thank you, John. I mean, really, thank you so much for that because, I mean, every comment that anybody says, it just helps it. It certainly helps me, helps open it for everybody because you see, it's so insidious, isn't it? The way these molds creep up on us. We don't realize we're doing it because we think, well, I'm quite good at letting go. I'm full of love. I'm not being controlling anymore. But I'm still holding that person in a mold. I have an expectation, or something I want from them, even wanting them to accept my love in a way. I know what you mean. That's why I found that so valuable. But yeah, and because of our having held somebody in a mold or the mold we think they should be in, that has an effect on them that we can't know until we just drop everything. And I think it's even harder for a parent to do that with a child. So if you can do that as a parent, that's amazing. And you can. Yeah, great. Yes, Rafi. Hi.
Hi. This morning, when I was meditating, I kept asking myself, how am I universal love? And then I'd go back to I am the universe. And how am I universal love? Well, universal love is not personal. There's nothing to be there are no persons. So how can it be personal? If there's no personals, if it's not personal, there's only universal love. There's only that oneness that's indescribable, but it's the only reality. And all of a sudden, there were no people. There were no individuals. There was nothing, this one is separate from that one, or I'm separate from, all of that just vanished. And for about 20 minutes or so, I don't know how long I meditated, but for that amount, that in that space, and there's no such thing as space, there were no people. It was just that universal infinite love. And there's no way, there's no describing that. It's indescribable. But it was the only reality. And I've just run out of words. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, what a lovely meditation to have, when you have those experiences, like you say, there's no space, but it feels, it's just sort of so infinitely expansive, isn't it? Wow. Thank you, Rafi. Yes, Joni.
Yes, thanks, Rafi. From a practical reason, I've noticed, I've been so blessed to have Jack in my life because I have many molds of him, and when he shows up, practicing being fresh and just grateful that he's even in my world helps break those molds. But what I like is, and my landlord, I have molds on him, and he's doing right now some behaviors, and we don't communicate. And I know it was in my head, and I decided, to look at the mold. He's bringing some construction materials over that you're not allowed to put in on your residential properties. And I decided, oh, here it is again, and I had so many choices to take that in, do a worksheet, journal about it, look at it. And I realized that, since everything is for me, it doesn't matter what classroom I'm in, I'm looking at it. I'm taking the time to look at it to look at it and see what it can tell me about my fears and beliefs. And so I welcomed it. And then it didn't take long. I could see some old patterns, and I decided, who would I be if I just let this go? And so I thanked that whole situation and I let it go. And then there was, more opportunities. I have plenty of things to be grateful for and blessings. And my neighbor is back from China. And so as soon as we're done with the calls, I'm going, with him to catch up and go to the Asian store. He's taught me all kinds of Asian recipes, soups mostly. And it's like the rolling of the classrooms, is like kind of like a roller coaster. There's this going up, and down. And my goal now, peace is in that balance of neutrality. So it's only my stories that is making it go up. Oh, isn't this great? Or goes down. Isn't this unwanted? And with my awareness or my witnessing of it, I can go immediately. I can call a friend. I can go to the lessons. I can do all kinds of things. But the goal is peace. And if I can get, that looking at it, and if I can take that to Holy Spirit, get the blessing, the lesson, and then let it go, I'm finding that work is getting deeper. The letting go, sometimes when I just say, oh, there it is again, let it go, if it's something I know is a pattern because I can feel it, the tightness in my body, I'll slow down. But if it is something like a silly judgment, I do let it go and laugh. But ultimately I will get to laughter, and I know everything's forming. It doesn't matter what the classroom looks like. So I just wanted to share that. But thanks.
That's just perfect, because really that's it. Once we know that one thing, everything is for us, everything is for us. I mean, that's it really. The roller coaster is mainly because we have some opinion about it, or we push it away, or we suffer for it. But when we know it's for us, I mean, yeah, just before the call started, you asked me how I was, and we just had a little quick chat. So so I've had sort of things, yeah, belief in particular pain this weekend, and a bit of apparent physical suffering, and well, a lot. If I'm honest, like absolutely excruciating pain, for the last few days. But the thing that is such a relief is, first of all, knowing that whatever I think about it, I know it's not real. And and even though sometimes I do believe it's real because I'm feeling it, but underneath it, I know it's not real. And I know it's for me, like all of us do here. And I was just sort of thinking about how absolutely grateful I am that I know that it's for me, so that I have nothing but embrace for it. And also, I was looking at the kind of conditions in my life that I've had, which are these kind of autoimmune blah 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 kind of things. And I realized that they're kind of what's called the body attacking itself. Well, that's because I spent years condemning myself and attacking myself. So hence a body that ended up doing that. And so since I've started to not do that, but the thing is that there's a point that I had there. I know, yes, it was about, because like most people here, I've lived what you might call a life focused on spiritual interest. That's all it's been all my life, beyond everything, the music and everything that I've ever done. The course in miracles, my Christian Science and everything has been the core. It's what I've always done, as I say, like so many of us. And the thing about that, which can lead you a little bit astray, is that you can feel that And I don't know if any of you have felt this, but you can sort of feel that you're not good enough. You know, the mortal mind takes over and thinks, well, I'll never be good. Everything that I do is not doing what it says here. I'm not doing that. You know, so I'm a bad girl. And so the root of me attacking myself was never being as good as every word in the spiritual books, and in fact, in a lot of cases, doing the opposite. Which is why when the gift that was given to me was this gift of is-ness, and seeing that is-ness is my only business. And when that was given to me, that just shot through everything. And it's just like we've all been saying, really, and what Rafi was saying just before about the meditation, because that universal consciousness, that no space, that is it. It is just that little word is, you know, and we just keep coming back to that and just keep coming back to that. And the fact that we can come back to that is just amazing. To me, that's the biggest teaching, and why I want it to be so practical, because you know, when you spent a lifetime of beating yourself up because you don't feel that you're meeting these, then you don't want anybody to ever do that to themselves again. So, you know, for me, I've just constantly foraged to find that gold that is, and just keep being in that. And and just doing that just means that you are living more like that. You just live more like that. Yeah. Go on, Joni. Sorry, that was a long diatribe.
Thank you. I want to add to it because I felt like you gave me that gift, since I've been recently diagnosed with autoimmune lupus or whatever. But it's lupus is like a collection of all the things I have. And you said, well, you know, that the body is attacking itself. And I said, there was another person yesterday who was describing some pains, and she said, yeah, I'm getting old, you know, it's getting harder to walk. And I said, and she has orthotics and stuff. And I said, well, I said, I've had that since I was 25. I just don't think of it as age. It's, and I realized this morning with you, it's a mold that I put myself in. And I have been attacking myself since I was 25, and blaming the disease, making the body real, blaming all kinds of things. But when I accept that it's a mold I created, I can feel that kind of dissolving of that mold. And there's so many times that I don't have any pain, or I don't have the rash, or I don't have the blood sugar numbers or whatever. And I'm going to be talking to the primary tomorrow, and the sleep doctor the next day. And I will look at it because they can't explain why things go up and down, and why sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But it makes sense now, as you pretty much gave me clarity. I have a mold that I activate. And when I activate through attacking myself or others, then there's suffering and pain. And when I accept what is, I'm melting that mold of those limitations. I mean, I almost don't know what to say to them sometimes when I say I feel good, because it's almost like, really, you know, okay, fine, you know, we'll do this. I mean, it is a dance with them, and I do love the University of Michigan, because they are curious about my journey, and they've been with me for over 35 years. But I gotta say, I've never felt better, even though there's another symptoms, but the symptom goes away. So under stress, you know, a lot of autoimmune things get worse under stress. Well, what's stress? It's attacking something, right? Usually myself, or blaming someone else. So it's just interesting how that mold of I am a body that has this diseases means anything. And when my friend said she had some of these things, I was like, well, I don't know that it is about your age. She's getting close. No, she's not getting close. She's 5 years younger than me. And I said, I don't think it's our age. It's got to be something. It's got to be a message or something. And you gave it to me today. It's a mold of judgments that I hold when I'm attacking myself or others. So thank you. Thank you, diseases, because they're a trigger that's pointing me back to work on those thoughts let go and get the message of what is my beliefs, which is really the mold, right? The mold is my beliefs. And then the thoughts are generated from that mold, and I can stop that anytime I practice.
Well, exactly, because I mean, anything that is like a trigger and anything, is God, Jesus, the shepherd, shepherding us back to here, isn't it? So it's great. Yes, thank you, Joni. It's brilliant. Thank you. Yes, yes, Rafi.
An example of how I saw the body as just another projected thought image. I go to a block party that my community had on Saturday. They had a live band, terrific band. And I got up and I danced and danced and danced and danced and danced. And they go, dance is an expression of joy. And I've been dancing. My mother used to say that I used to dance around the house when I was 2 years old. And then it hit me later on. I said, well, I'm going to be really tired from this dancing because it just, came out of the blue. And there was no fatigue. There was no tired. The next morning, I go to a garden meeting at my community garden. I have a plot in a community garden. And I go to the meeting and I work in the garden. I do the watering and we have the meeting. And on the way home, I have to walk up. It's a little over 100 steps that connects one street to another street in my community, in my neighborhood. And between the dancing and the walking up the 100 steps, I'm going to be really tired later on. There was no tired because I didn't identify with the body. It was just a projected thought image. And there was no, legs hurting or anything. There was none of that. It was like it never happened. You know why? Because it never happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it was just all part of the dream. Dreams, you can't you can't be tired in a dream. You can think you're tired, but you can't be tired. It's so the thoughts have no substance. So if there's no substance, how can there be any of that other stuff? And that's so. Just wanted to share that experience. Thank you.
I'm really glad you shared that because I was the same as last week. I think I probably told you that not this weekend just gone, but the weekend before, I had to, play music in 3 schools with a dance teacher, and then I had to do a concert at night, and then the next day I had to travel a long way because I had a gig at playing for somebody's birthday party. Then I had the next day, then I had another gig that was a really 2-hour, 3-hour thing at a festival, which I also had to drive to. And at the beginning of the week, I was building all these molds. I was doing exactly that. I was dreading it actually. And I was thinking, I'm going to be so tired. I'm going to be so, how am I even going to manage the first bit when I do the 3 schools and then I've got a concert at night? Never mind the second day and the day after. How am I going to do that? And I really did do that. And I noticed myself doing that and building this mold of tiredness that in the dream, And then as it got nearer to the time, I just thought, my goodness. And I saw the title of my own book on the Is-ness is your only business. I thought, just one step at a time, just now. There's no big mountain. I know I said this last week. I did say this last week, but it's because you said the same thing, Rafi. That exactly that. I just dropped all that whole dream about, oh, I can't. It's too high, too much. And it was fantastic. And at the end of those whole 3 days, I was amazed actually because I didn't have any sign of aching or tiredness or anything. In fact, I felt really energized. And that's it. It really is a dream, all of it. We're just dreaming it up moment by moment. And I know we all know that, but it is amazing. And I don't think I'll ever cease to be amazed whilst I am living on this side. Yes, Joni, yeah.
I asked you, if you were going to write an autobiography, and you looked at me like, well, I did. Is-ness is my only business. And I went away. It took me a while to sit with that and go, no, I mean like your whole journey and all this. And then I did realize how can, that is what we are. So that would be my autobiography, if, like you said. And I was just fascinated on how letting go of all of this frees me in the moment, and that builds the trust that I have really fought for five years and 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, is trust. It's the trust that ultimately this is for, is that the present moment is that connection with all the unlimited possibilities. And I've blocked it with every judgment, mold, fear, blame, victimhood, any of that. So I just had to say that. It took me a while for that to sink in. I didn't want to give you a look like, no, that's not what I meant. I meant, your timeline autobiography. And it was like, no, you just simply said, no, I wrote my autobiography.
My autobiography. I like that. Oh, Joni, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dov. Hi, Dov. Hi, Happy. You're muted. Can't hear you.
Talking about trust, and I talk about trust a lot over the years, maybe 25, 30 years, TRUST, to rely upon spirit totally. And just today, it came to me how you really get trust. Humility is the key to trust. Yeah, humility. When you have humility, you're in deep trust.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dov. That's beautiful. That's so true. Thank you. I love that. I was listening today to, I think I've mentioned before that my absolute favorite teacher for me all my life has been Herb Fitch, who was, learnt from, based all his talks on Joel Goldsmith's books and expands on them. And in the talk I was listening to today, which I'll put in the email actually, because I think you would all absolutely love it. He reminded me of a book that I used to have actually has anybody here heard of J. Allen Boone? J. Allen Boone. Well, he wrote the kinship with something like the kinship with all beings. He had the most amazing awakening through having a dog. And I'm not going to explain much because Herb Fitch tells the story in this particular tape that I will put in the email. And it's about, the whole thing is about what you've just said, Dov, that unless you are poor in spirit, which actually means in total humility, you can't see the oneness in everything, between every creature and between every being, because even his relationship, anybody that has a dog, I advise you to read this book, or at least listen to the tape that I'm going to send you, because he was given care over a dog that, well, now I'm not going to spoil it for you because Herb tells it really well. I promise you will love the video that I'm going to send you. But anyway, he learned from this dog that he was in the care of about about the oneness of spirit, because however much you love the dog, sometimes, and I've grown up with dogs, you can still feel that you're the master and they're the dog, but there's something when you drop that and you see that it's the divine expressing. The whole point of this book was that instead of trying to see God in every form, to try to see it, it's the realization that everything, including you, is God expressing itself as you. I know we talk about that. The Course of Miracles is full of this. It's something, it's just this slight difference between knowing the kingdom of God within, seeing it or trying to see it, or even loving people into the light and seeing them as the light. It's the absolute knowing, the come to knowing that it's just God expressing itself as that plant, as that flower, as that spider, as that dog. And I've never heard it put as beautifully as in this talk that Herb gives about how J. Allen Boone saw it. Yeah. And it comes from just what you said, Dov, that the point underneath all of it was the being poor in spirit, meaning that if you aren't humble enough to see that you are the same equal part as this whole presence, you can't see it in anybody else. I've probably put that quite badly. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for that point. Yes, Rafi, you've got your hand up there, and then Lynn. Yeah.
I had a dog, and when you look about the idea, I'm the master of the dog of the dog, and we didn't have that kind of relationship because as I watched the dog develop, I realized that the dog had picked out a chore for itself, and its job was to take care of my wife.
Oh,
So how could I be its master if that was its job? Her
oh,
job was to take care of my wife. All dogs have assignments that they give themselves, and that was the assignment that she gave to herself. So how could I be her master? So we were equals. And since equality is what we all are anyway, I mean, even if you pick out a let's see, a religious factor, we are all equal in the eyes of God. For instance, I heard that in the Catholic Church when I was a kid. They don't practice it, but they say it. And then I thought, well, if I'm not the dog's master, then we are all equals. And as soon as that happened, there was perfect harmony in the house. It was not, look what that dog is doing. It's, we're going out for a walk. It's not, look what I'm doing for this dog. We're just taking care of each other. We're all doing what our assignments is. My assignment is to feed the dog. The dog's assignment is to take care of my wife. They go, okay, everybody's got their little contributions that they make. Well, that's how we're serving each other. And if we're all serving each other, I'm serving you, you're serving me, that's the absolute conviction that giving and receiving are exactly the same.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, there's the proof of it right there.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And so in that harmony is the peace that is our reality, that infinite, imperturbable peace that is our reality. Thank you.
I love that she knew that her job was to look after your wife. That's so beautiful, Rafi.
Happy's got a job, right? That right, Doug?
Happy is looking after Dove.
Right, exactly.
Happy's job is to cuddle up.
Oh, that's the best job in the world. Oh, yes, Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead, Lynn.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say now?
Some of you may have heard of Hugh Prather. He was one of the early Unity ministers who was the teacher of the Course of Miracles. He wrote maybe a dozen books, but one of them, this is not it. I couldn't find it. This is I Will Never Leave You, How Couples Can Achieve the Power of Lasting Love. But he wrote a book, his most famous book is called Notes to Myself. And in it,
yeah.
And in it, he does a thing called Friends and Strangers, which is very much like your poem today, which is why I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. But he says, when you meet somebody new, and instead of thinking of them as a stranger, see them as your closest friend. And when you meet one of your closest friends, see them as strangers. And that's a way of reinventing your mind so that everyone.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Breaking the mold.
Yeah,
Lynn's
great. Yeah.
was for.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Joni.
you, Dov. Yeah, wow.
So what a great conversation this is. And so, of course, being Lynn, I have to turn it around here. So I'm turning it around because what I see in people is a projection. It's this mold that you're talking about. I'm projecting a picture and a story onto everyone that I see, everybody that I meet, everybody that I think about, and their dog. I'm thinking about, I'm making up a story about them. And that story becomes really all that I see of them. Once I get somebody safely cocooned and put into a cage, and now I know who you are, what you're going to do to me, what you're going to do for me, how we're going to coexist together. I have you in this cage, then I can manage my relationship with you because I'm making it all up. And when you do something that's out of character for the person that I made up, I'm going to be upset, not at me for making up a character that you can't conform to, but to you for not conforming to the character I made up. So who's the culprit here? Mea culpa here. I'm the one who made it all up. That's what I have to keep reminding myself. And I'm projecting it onto you. It doesn't matter if you are my best friend, my worst enemy, somebody I never met before, somebody I wish I knew. It doesn't matter. Somebody I see on TikTok, politician or this. It doesn't matter. It's all in my mind. I'm the one who's making you what you are to me. So you could be my greatest hero. You could be my worst enemy. You haven't changed. You're not different. The only thing that changes is what I'm thinking. So, once I started realizing again, it is true. The world you see is a, excuse me, I'm sorry. Too much talking here. I'm sorry for that. That was really loud. The world you see is a projection of your own thinking. As long as I'm seeing that, I'm seeing, oh, here's a body that's going to cough and be tired because I stayed up too late, or I went dancing, or I did extra time on the treadmill, or it's all in my mind. And that's what we're talking about right now. It's just all in my mind. And I can change my mind at any time, but I can also decide not to believe anything my mind tells me because it's all imaginary. It's all imaginary.
That's the root of it, isn't it? You see, that's the thing that trips us up every time. And it's the thing but like you say, when you really get that, life becomes so funny. You just start to pick yourself up all day. Oh, that's my project. I'm projecting this. I'm projecting that. I'm just making it up all the time, aren't we? That's all we can do. It's all we can do on one level, but noticing it, that's the big key, isn't it? We'll still keep doing it. I think that when I stopped beating myself up was when I realized that I will still keep doing this stuff. It's when I kept expecting that I would be free of it and perfect that I was causing myself all this beating myself up. But when I realized, no, you will keep doing it. You will keep making molds and stuff and realizing and breaking them, and you will keep doing it. But the thing is, now you know that you're doing it. And you know that you're making the whole thing up. It's the knowing of it that's where the freedom is, not giving yourself a hard time because you're still doing it.
And it's asking myself, what is the purpose of this? What am I using Mandy for right now? What am I using Dove for, or Joni? What is the purpose of my relationship with you? And when I recognize that the purpose of my relationship with you is and always is to be loved, to love and be loved. That's all that it's for. So, why would I misuse that purpose? Why would I not just see that no matter what my situation, no matter what the relationship, no matter what I think, love is the only purpose for any of it. And when I can see it through the eyes of just love is what we're here for, then that's what you're here for. What am I using Mandy for? Because I love her. What am I using Joni for? Because I love her. John and Robbie and all of you. I mean, it's because I love you all.
This is so
The
true.
only reason.
This is so true. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Lynn. Yes, Joni. Then we got Joni, then John, and then Rafi. Yeah. Go on, Joni.
Just tell you what I'm reflecting back on real quick is, as a mother, I could never understand in the beginning, obviously an ego, that Steiner had the same teacher for 8 years for your children, and I just was like, oh my God, what if they don't like my kid or blah, blah, blah. And then I remembered I had the same worries when I started the daycare because I didn't know if I could love other people's children like my own or whatever. But what I noticed when I was going through all of that is the world gave me the experience. I read the book before I had children, from Gail Gibran, about children come through us, instead of, and I would hear other people going, oh, look what I made. And I'd be like, you made? No, the God made, kind of thing. But with the overwhelming amount of kids and all the love I experienced at Steiner, I never felt so free to love those children. And I wouldn't have done it by thinking about it. I had to experience it. I wouldn't have felt the example that these women did for loving my children and all the children for 8 years when they were each going through Steiner. And when I think back, it's like that's where the world, where you could practice it. That didn't mean we didn't have bad moments or somebody needed to be put in timeout. One time I got a call, my kid stuck something in an outlet and they didn't know what to do because they were so upset. And I had to come get them. I didn't know what to do with them, but I looked at them like, thanks, The point is the love is there, and so are the classrooms. And I got to experience a level of love that eroded my judgments because it was busyness, taking care of all those kids. So anyway, it was a good, nice memory. So thanks. Humility, as Dove says, it's humility.
Oh, lovely to hear. Thank you, Joni. Yes, John.
Yeah, I hear, Joni. What I hear is you're breaking the mold. The mold has been broken with all these judgments there, and that's so beautiful, because that's one of the things that I got a couple of points that I'd like to make out. Lynn was saying about things being imaginary, and it's all imaginary, and yeah, it is all imaginary. The point about imaginary is those are images, and I can choose the images that I want, knowing full well that the image is the creative aspect of all creation. So I get to choose, love here, or I get to choose whatever I'm doing, whatever mold I'm in. I get to choose whether I want to recognize it as a mold, because at the end of the day, what choices do I have? Actually, I don't have any choices, but I think I do. And the point is that what I would like to introduce is something I got yesterday from John Mundy's talk on. He had a guest called Roger Walsh, and he's a professor, a Course in Miracles person, as well as many other different things. I think you were there, Lynn. I'm not sure, but anyway, he introduced me to a person whose name is Sean Hargens, and I watched his podcast, and he takes a deep dive into non-duality in a way that I have never seen or heard before in my life. And he goes back into the Eastern and Western models of non-duality that I had never heard of. And so basically, we think this is sometimes, like, oh, it's far out. Course in Miracles is no. These ideas have been around for a long time. They keep reappearing. And this guy has done a major deep dive, Sean Hargens, on his podcast, and it was so beautiful to hear it. But basically, the thing that I am hearing mostly is today is the mold or mind is. It's just another word. It's just a linguistic way of describing what my basic concepts are, or that are holding me bound in this cage. That I just have to recognize that I'm being held in this cage, and I recognize that with my contractions or anytime that I'm not loving, anytime that I'm not or want to defend or attack or condemn myself, as you say, Joni, I'm not good enough. That's a powerful image, to be expressing out into life and be unaware of it. So just to have the awareness, and that goes back to this consciousness of feeling, the feeling of of being able to, of a stimulus and respond to the stimulus. Is a definition of a working definition of consciousness, the ability to receive and respond to stimuli, because that's what happened to the electron, and it's happening to us through all creation. It's nobody can tell you what a soul is, but nobody can tell you what an electron is because they can't see neither. But you can tell what it does by the wake or where it's been, by what its acts are, and that's really how you know what a soul is up to, by what it does, by the choices it makes and what it does, because what it does follows the choices it makes, or that it thinks it makes. And so, yeah, Lynn, it's imaginary, but you know, those it's not dismissive as a fantasy by any stretch of the imagination, because in the beginning the word was the image was what was the creation evolved from, an idea, an image in the mind of the creator. Anyway, the mold. Mandi, is such a powerful linguistic tool for me to use and to accept as a, you know, just as another image. Oh, where can I go with this? What fun can I have with this in opening this one up for inspection? You know, this is not a hard deal. Maybe I can use some of Dove's laughter stuff on it, because at the end of the day, one of the things that John Mundy said I really enjoyed. He said the guy got fired from his job, and he was being escorted out, and he was in trauma about it, and he's just prayed to God. He says, "Oh God, help me in this situation." And he got the idea. I just did. God said, I just did help you. So, you know, just to laugh at stuff and, you know, just who knows what the heck's going on. I love you all, especially everybody who shows up on this call today. Thank you so much.
I love you, and I love I love every word that you said. And I think every one of my poems is just like you're quite right. What word's going to come up this week? So it was molds, but it's all the same stuff, you know. It's just that it comes in at different angles and, you know, things like that. So thank you for every word you said there, John. Thank you. Yes, Rafi.
Yeah, well, that was great. It reminded me of the story of bird is in a cage. We're in a mold. Yeah, and it gets used to it doesn't like the cage because it's a bird. It wants to fly free. But then the door to the cage is open, and the bird doesn't know what to do. It goes to the edge of it and says, "I can fly out there, but I'm used to the cage. I don't like it, but at least I know that that's where." So then it'll fly out a little bit and then fly back, and fly out a little bit and fly back, and then fly out and stay out a little longer, and stay out a little longer, and then maybe go back, but not all the way in, just sit at the lip of it. And then eventually it realizes that the cage is, like you put it, is just a simple mold, and it doesn't need to be there anymore. Here's a simple example of that. Yesterday, I'm sitting home, and I'm releasing, and I'm waiting for a ball game to come on that I'm going to watch. And it hits me, I should go get some gelato. And I thought, wait a minute, is this just an impulsive thing? If it is, then I'm not going to just jump on the impulse. So I released, I let go, whatever the feelings came up, and it was one in control. And I let it go, and I waited like 20 minutes or a half hour. Then I realized there was no more impulse. So I got in the car, and I went to my favorite gelateria, which is fabulous. And I went and I got the gelato, and I sat in they have tables and chairs outside on the sidewalk in front of the place. And I sat out there, and I just started seeing everyone that walked by, gay couples, straight couples, people with children. So start seeing everybody as divine love. Not as people, but as divine love. And anytime a judgment came up, it was a non-loving feeling. I got a hold of it, and I released it and released it and released it. And the fact that they were all divine love never changed. That always stayed, that stayed the same. And the gelato was fabulous. And but it was that wonderful, peaceful, serene harmony that was ever present, just because there was no judging. Everything was serene. If everything is serene love, what's the judge? The only judge is the mind. Well, the mind was quiet. I had been sitting home and getting to that place beyond mind, beyond thoughts, where only the quiet is, and the quiet is reality. And it sustained itself while I was sitting there at that table, licking the gelato and seeing everybody's divine love. No judging, serene harmony, reality. Even the picture, the dream picture, just floated by as it would. And it had nothing to do with me. All I saw was the serene love.
So God had wanted you to go and get that ice cream. I mean, there's no doubt. Because the thing is, we always think that God or divine impulse or whatever is always going to send us to terribly deep things to do. But sometimes it's just an ice cream. Treat yourself to an ice cream, because the greater gift is beyond the ice cream. Wait till you just get there. You know, the flavor's going to be the best you've ever had.
Then it hit me. Everything happens for a reason and is serving us. And the reason why I had to go there and get that is so I can be served by witnessing or experiencing everything as divine love. What better reason could I have had to been there?
That's such a lovely story. I'm just gonna wait till I get asked to go and get ice cream. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I just love that. I love that. I really do. I'll carry that with me. I'll think of you with an ice cream after this call. I know I will. Yes, Joni.
Thank you, Rafi. I just wanted to combine your story with the bird in the cage. And I was thinking of my situations recently. And if I'm the bird, you know, I've been, as all awareness is wants to be free. And so if the cage is like a mold, sometimes storms come through and break them, or they fall. And now I'm free. Do I want to go build that up? It's when I realize nothing outside me created that cage for the bird or that mold. And I've been teetering through lessons and stuff on the edge of the door that's open, but sometimes, and I see a pattern where total devastation of that mold has to happen, where then I get a choice. Do I want to rebuild those molds, those beliefs?
Brilliant, Joni. Yeah.
Or do I want to go forward and move on, as Dove tells me, move the hell on. No, he doesn't say it like that. I just wanted to tell you to make sure. Anyway, that's what popped in my head, Rafi. So thanks.
I love that you said that. That's a really great way to bring this, you know, subject to a close. Because, you know, yeah, we don't want to rebuild it. That's the thing to know. And I just wondered if anybody would like to read the poem.
I just wanted to add, especially if it's an illusion, I'm combining everything we say. So, you know, if I'm aware of this bird and this bird is me in oneness, then it's only me who made that cage, as Rafi was saying. But the storms can also free me if I choose to not rebuild those beliefs as a victim.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. God, this has been a brilliant call. Really great. Oh, Vince has got his hand up. Yes, Vince. Hi. Hello, Vince.
I was just volunteering to read the poem.
Oh, yes, please. Go ahead.
I've been here listening, having
Yeah.
allergy issues and blowing my nose off camera.
Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll just leave it with Vince now. And I'll also send everybody that video, because I think it's like in two parts. There's part 1 and part 2, so the whole thing would be about an hour and a half's listening, but I'll send that to you. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
Can I just say one thing about that mold to Joni, because you can't leave that cage or that mold unless you're aware of it. So it all comes back down. We got to wake up, you know, to find out the cages that we're in. And by the way, the modern thing today is to build giga molds. That's what they're doing with all these car things. It's massive molds making things. So we can dismantle one and then build the one of our choice, the giga mold that we want to put into our life. So go ahead with this beautiful molding poem.
Oh, thank you, John. That's brilliant. Thank you. But I mean, the thing is to be aware is what you said. That was absolutely, that we've been doing that we've been building the molds. Yeah. And that's a constant thing. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Go ahead, Vince. Thank you.
The title is not on the screen.
The title is just Old Molds.
Old Moulds
Yeah.
by Mandi Solk. I'm swinging in my swing chair in the garden up so high. The canopy blew off years ago, so I can see the sky. And today I was ruminating on a thought that was generating about how I love this game of hide and seek that God plays to disguise the unique treasure that's in everyone throughout the world under the sun. How is this game played? Well, often when we think we've strayed, we block ourselves from his light. Our sins shame us into darkness night. Or when we're in a crowded street, we might look into someone's eyes we meet and see God shining through their eyes. He suddenly appeared by complete surprise. It was God hiding, then jumping out in front of me, just when I was looking for something else to see. When we're still deluded by how someone looks, we may try to recall truths from our spiritual books, but we don't need to effort to see through their faces. We only need drop back into our own sacred spaces. When we're wise to his subtle game, nothing again looks the same, because now we see him everywhere, and he was never hiding. He was just waiting for the time we'd awaken to his guiding. For instance, take the way we always hold friends and family in a solid mold. They can never be free while we're mentally repeating every nuance, every memory at every single meeting. But when we drop the mold, we've cast them in, it automatically unlocks the molds they've put us in. And now we see each other with new, fresh eyes. We can't even mourn each other's demise because we can no longer remember the other's history. This new friend is a complete mystery. Even our futures are formed from the past because we only know what just happened last. We keep building molds out of everything we view, but once we awake, everything's always new.
Oh, thanks, Vince. Thanks for reading that. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Oh, pleasure. Oh, it's lovely to hear it read, you see, by somebody else, Oh, thanks all ever so much for coming. Just if everybody wants to say goodbye to each other, say goodbye. There's Sally.
Bye.